Good morning. I'm Matthew Johnson, Senior Minister at the Unitarian Universalist Church here in Rockford, Illinois. And whether you're joining us live at 10 Central on November 8th, 2020, or later, welcome. Whether you're a member or friend of this congregation or another congregation, welcome. Or if you found your way here because you need worship today, you're exploring religion anew and have found us, welcome. Whether you are frightened or grieving or determined or curious or sad or joyful or hopeful, welcome. Whoever you are and whatever brings you here, we're glad you're here. We're coming to you from the sanctuary at the church. I am on sabbatical, as many of you know, but it took this Sunday to come and preach with you and be with you, and I'm so glad that I did. With me today is Tim Anderson, our music director at the church and my colleague in worship. Teresa Wilmot will be joining on some of the music this morning. We're thrilled to have Teresa here. Lindsay Dunn, the Director of Religious Education, is here. We'll tell a story later this morning. Autumn Powell, our office manager in the back of the hall, running technology for us. Our intern minister, Omega Burkhart, has a well-deserved Sunday off. She's been holding down the fort while I've been away, so she gets to sleep in this morning. And our worship associate, Jessica Holdering, has pre-recorded their testimony, which you'll hear later in the service. Chris Ainsworth, our membership coordinator, is at home and chiming in on the Facebook feed and saying hello. And if you're watching on Facebook, say hello. Greet one another there. Let us know that you are with us. Be present with us. Do be thoughtful about what you say. It is a public forum. We're going to worship together. So I'm going to ring our bell. I invite you to breathe in and breathe out. Wherever you are and whatever you are doing, be present for worship together. And we're going to begin with singing our hymn of the month, I Brought My Spirit to the Sea, a song of attention and intention. Let us sing together.
I brought my spirit to the sea. I stood upon the shore. I gazed upon infinity. I heard the waters roar. And then there came a sense of peace. Some whisper calmed my soul. Some ancient ministry of stars had made my spirit whole. I brought my spirit to the trees that loomed against the sky. Some touched each wandering careless breeze to know if God was nigh. And then I felt an inner flame that fiercely burned my tears. Upright I rose from bended knee to meet the asking years.
I am so glad that you are here for worship, and if today is your first time worshiping with us online, we're especially happy to have you joining us. Please do take a moment to like the Facebook page as a way to stay in touch, and there'll be a visitor form that Chris will post into the comments. Fill it out so we can let you know about the programs and activities of the church and how to get involved online in this time. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our faith, a beacon of truth, a fire for justice, and a warmth for the soul. As Lindsay lights our chalice here at church, we invite you to light your chalice at home and speak together the covenant of our church. Love is the spirit of this church, and reason is its guide. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to serve human need. This is our covenant. Now we'll sing together our chalice response song.
May love shine forth through us today. May light of reason guide our way. May beauty, truth, and joy become shines in everyone.
We gather for worship, and I invite you to breathe and be present. There's been a tightness, right? For some of us, for a long time, for others of us, for 4 years, or maybe this week. And I invite you to let go of that tightness just a little and let the breath flow in and out. Let the gladness come in and out, the wonder come in and out. To breathe, to be present. Life is a gift which we are given, and it is not perfect. There's tragedy and there's pain and violence and loss and mistakes, and all that's real and that's true, and yet there is so much beauty. In dance parties and laughter and the natural world that we share together, in acts of kindness and compassion and mercy, and in people who remain hopeful, though life has knocked them down again and again and again, and people who are compassionate, though there's every reason in the world not to be. Those things are gorgeous. And this morning, as we gather for worship, we give thanks for resilience and hope, for new beginnings and possibilities, for love and all its attendants. Let us be glad. Let us worship today.
Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Love is patient, love is not jealous, love does not rejoice in what is wrong, but love rejoices in the truth. Love is always ready to excuse, to hope, to trust, and to endure whatever comes. Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est.
Good morning. I'm Lindsay, and I'm the Director of Religious Education here at the church. And our story this morning is I Am One, a Book of Action by Susan Verde. How do I make a difference? It seems like a tall order for one so small. But beautiful things start with just one seed to start a garden. One stroke to start a masterpiece. One note to start a melody. One step to start a journey. One brick to start breaking down walls. And I can speak one gentle word to start a conversation. I can use my one soft voice to start a friendship. I can perform one act of kindness to start a connection. I can share one tender hug to start caring. I can light one candle to start leading the way. I can make one drop in the water to start ripples that become swells, then waves. Traveling over oceans, across borders, and boundaries. Landing on distant shores to start a chain reaction, inspire a movement, make a change. I am one and I can take action. We are each one and we can take action. One by one, we can make a difference. Because one is all it takes to start something beautiful.
We are continuing to worship online for the foreseeable future, and I have been thinking this week as cases have been continuing to rise in Illinois and across the country of you and for your safety, and please take every precaution to keep yourself and those you love safe in these dangerous times. I hope you're also checking in with each other. Reach out, send a note, make a telephone call. With this beautiful weather that we're having for who knows for how much longer, a socially distant walk with a friend is a delight. Reach out to the staff if you need anything, to Intern Minister Omega Burkhardt or to other folks of the staff, our membership director, Chris Ainsworth. If you need anything, they're here for you. We'll take up an offering now to support the work of the church in the world, the work of justice and mercy. 80% of what we collect today will go to Equality Illinois, a statewide organization working for justice for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer folks. We've partnered with them many times over the years, and their work continues to be important in our state. Thank you for your generosity. You can give online by texting the number on the screen or by going to uurockford.org/donate and select Share the Plate. And don't forget to be making your annual gifts to the church online as well, or to even to be sending a check in person. We do check the mail. Help us keep our staff and operations funded during this time. The offering will now be given and received.
4 years ago, I couldn't breathe. I could barely speak. I couldn't sleep. I'd drift away for a moment only to be jolted back to consciousness by the heaving of my own chest, struggling for breath. I'm a different person today than I was 4 years ago. We are all different people. The collective trauma we have experienced together has worn us down and changed us. We have broken, but we have continued to fight. We have lived in darkness, but kept moving forward despite no promise of light. We have taken turns carrying one another when the weight has been too much. And now we must keep moving forward. We breathe a sigh of relief, but we must not forget what got us here. We must not become complacent in our relief. It is true that almost half of our country has been and continues to be on the wrong side of history, but we cannot write them off, or we face history repeating itself. Many of those who have latched on to the toxicity and discrimination have been preyed upon and force-fed lie after lie. They are victims of this trauma too. And you may be thinking that they should have known better. But if we are going to heal from this, we have to confront it with the same compassion and understanding that we would give to any victim who has made damaging choices while under the control of an abuser. Because we are not the only ones who have been broken.
One world, this for all its sorrow. One world, shaping one tomorrow. One humanity, though riven. We to whom a world is given. From one world there is no turning. For one world the prophets yearning, one the world of poets, sages, one world goal of all the ages. World so eagerly expected, world so recklessly rejected, one as common folk have willed it, one as covenants can build it. World of friendly ways and faces, cherished arts and honored races, one world free in word and science, one way free its firm reliance.
Two readings this morning. The first from the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 22, verses 15 through 22. Then the Pharisees went and plotted to entrap him in what he said. So they sent their disciples to Jesus along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and teach the way of God in accordance with truth and show deference to no one, for you do not regard people with particularity. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, "Why are you putting me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax." And they brought him a denarius. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this? Whose title?" And they answered, "The emperor's." Then he said to them, Give therefore to the emperor the thing that are the emperor's, and to God the thing that are God's." When they heard this, they were amazed, and they left him and went away. The second reading is a poem by Denez Smith, a Minneapolis-based poet, called "My President." Today, I elect Jonathan, 11, and already making roads out of water, young genius, blog writer, little community activist, curls tight as Pinky swears, black as my nation. I trust the world in his tender, blooming hands. I trust him to tell us which rivers are safe to drink and which hold fish like promise. And I elect Eve Ewing, who I know would misfrizzle the country into one big classroom where grandmas finger paint the national budget and uncles stand around smoking blacks, plotting on stars for our escape. She could walk to the podium at her inauguration and say, "The future is now," and we'd all marvel at the sun and moon looping the sky like a gif as the cars learned to fly and our skin grew bulletproof. And Colin Kaepernick is my president, who kneels on the air, bent toward a branch, throwing apples down to the children and vets. And Rihanna is my president, walking out of a global summit with wine glass in hand, our taxes returned in gold to dust our faces into coins. And my mama is my president, her grace stunts on amazing brown hands, breaking brown bread over mouths of the hungry until there are none unfed. And my grandma is my president, and her cabinet is her cabinet because she knows to trust what the pan knows and how the skillet wins the war. And the man I saw high-kicking his way down the river, he is my president. And the trans girl making songs in her closet, spinning the dark into a blooming dress, she too is my president. And Sandra Rhimes is my president, and Nate Marshall is my president, and Trina is my president. And the boys outside Walgreens selling candy for a possibly fictional basketball team are my presidents. And the bus driver who stops after you yell, "Wait, only twice," is my president. And the dude at the pizza shop who will give you a free slice if you are down to wait for him to finish the day's fourth prayer is my president. And my auntie, only a few months clean, but clean, she is my president. And my neighbor who holds the door open when my arms are full of laundry is my president, and every head nod is my president, and every child singing summer with red, sweet tongue is my president, and the birds and the cooks and the single moms especially, and the weed dealers and the teachers and the meter maid who lets you slide, and the cab drivers who stop, and the nurses' swollen feet, and the braiders' exhausted hands, and the bartender, and Beyonce, and all her kids, and the rabbi, and the sad girls, and the leather daddy who always stops to say good morning, and the boy crying on the train, and the sudden abuela who rubs his back, and the uncle who offers him water, and the drag queen who begins to hum, "Oh, my presidents, my presidents, my presidents, my presidents, show me to our nation, my only border is my body. I sing your names, your names, my mighty anthem." Thus ends the readings. I invite you to enter a moment of silence, to breathe in and out, to let joy and gladness and worry mix in you and notice them and love your own body and the world we share. Spirit of life and love, wonder and mystery, God of many names and no name at all. Keep safe those who lead the work of justice and mercy in the world, near and far. Bring them wisdom and strength, compassion and decency. Hold them fast to their best promises, and hold us fast to our best hopes. this day and every day. Amen.
I believe in the Son. I believe in the Son, even when it's not shining.
I believe in the Son. I believe in the Son, even when it's not shining. I believe in love.
I believe in love. I believe even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it.
I believe in God. I believe in God, even when God is silent.
A delight to be back and hear Tim and Teresa this morning. I'll tell you that Tuesday night, I guess it's technically Wednesday morning, 1 a.m., I was finding it hard to believe in the sun when it wasn't shining. I was having memories, and not good ones. I was remembering the heart-wrenching feeling of 2016 and watching first Florida and then the Midwest turn and thinking, oh, no. I remember people saying afterwards, it won't be that bad, but actually it was worse. And I knew it was going to be worse because a lot of black women knew it was going to be worse, and I try to be in the habit of believing them, and activists knew it was going to be worse, and they were right. So Tuesday night, this week, I was remembering. I hardly slept at all. But eventually, I remembered what folks had been saying, wait for the mail-in ballots, and I went to bed. Wednesday was a new day, started to feel better, saw what was happening. Thursday came, and they counted. Some people shouted, but they counted. Friday came, and it was clear what was about to happen. And Saturday, and Pennsylvania, and a new day. Dance parties in the streets of American cities, relief and joy and hope and exhale. And I feel a little unsettled still, don't you? What Jessica was talking about in her testimony, and I know others feel similar. Not every race went the way that I hoped. A lot of them didn't. And you see that map, and even when you adjust for population, because remember, please, that land does not vote, people vote, but you see it and the results, and you know that millions of Americans voted for a man that I and many others find morally repugnant, corrupt, evil, and toxic. Some did so quietly, but others waved their flags and shouted with glee and said, "Give me more of this." More death, more incompetence, more corruption. And so we come this morning, glad to have averted the worst, to have a chance to build instead of play whack-a-mole with the worst of humanity, exhale, perhaps, but still unsettled. They're still counting votes in California and New York and Illinois, and the popular vote margin is going to be large, but it was not the overwhelming, absolutely amazing repudiation so many of us wanted. We look at our neighbors and wonder, how could they? How could they say that I and my family and people I love don't matter to them? How could they? I have thoughts. One thought is this: what millions of people in this country are experiencing and have been experiencing is a trauma response. Some are responding to the trauma of this presidency. Others are responding more broadly to the trauma of exploitation and oppression and colonialism, to violence and capitalism run amok. And trauma response does things to our bodies and our souls. It makes some of us cling to authoritarianism while others shut down. It does things to our bodies. And it doesn't heal right away. It doesn't. It may well be that it will take a long time for us to heal, for us to really feel like we can breathe free. Some have been waiting to feel like they can breathe free for 401 years in this country, or longer. So I want you to know that, and to be gentle with yourself and others. That's one. Second thought is this. During my sabbatical, one of the things I've been doing, and I didn't expect this when I started, I'm sort of following threads as they emerge and letting the unconscious sort of guide my work, but one of the things I've been doing is learning about the history of ancient Rome. Scipio Africanus and Julius Caesar and the Gracchi family, Caesar Augustus and Caligula. I've also been reading about the 20th century, World War I, which I didn't know as much about as I probably needed to, and the rise of Hitler and Stalin, Jim Crow and the Civil Rights Movement, and more about the last century. I've also, as planned, been learning about archetypes and the power of myth, and I'm seeing connections in human nature. There will always be human beings who crave the authoritarian, populist nationalist, the one who hates the people you hate, the totem and symbol of a nation in a person, and whether it's Julius Caesar or Joseph Stalin or George Wallace or Donald Trump. It doesn't matter to these folks that the crusader against corruption is actually the most corrupt person in the room. It doesn't matter that the rule of law becomes a charade, or that the republic is a republic in name only, and it doesn't matter if violence is celebrated and peace is an illusion. Those things don't matter. They will be human beings who want an avatar of their aggression and a vessel of their vengeance. And whether it's ancient Rome or the Weimar Germany or post-colonial Africa or the early 21st century in the Western world, right here and now, the mix of inequality, shifting demographics, and new communication technologies can often produce nationalist movements. That's just a real thing in human history. So I think we need to stop wondering, how can so many think this way? Can't we get them to change, to think like we do? I don't know that that is as useful. We liberal intellectuals, and that's not all of you watching this, but it is me, I'll admit, we liberal intellectuals must stop being the perpetually disappointed professor, sad that their students don't get the concept. Politics isn't education. People don't choose politicians because they agree with them, or they think they're logical or accurate. They don't. I wish they did, but they don't. They choose them because they make them feel like they belong to something larger than themselves, something transcendent and full of meaning. And the soon-to-be former president was good at that. He made a lot of folks feel like they were part of something, a movement, an identity wrapped in race and religion and nation and blood and soil, and for the most devout among them, a secret code of words and images and references. And we can be very glad today that a majority of Americans see themselves as part of something different than that, part of a different America, not one that was great, but one that can get better, not an ethno-state, but a remarkable human experiment, a multiracial democracy. We can be glad for that and have our dance parties and celebrate and breathe out. And then it will be time to ask, now what? Now what? What comes next? Now, there is political work to do. There are some pretty important runoffs in Georgia. I'd love to abolish the Electoral College if I had a magic wand. Frankly, I'd use that magic wand to abolish the Senate too, but alas, no magic wand given to me. Here in Illinois, the voters sent a pretty clear message. Until the leadership of the Democratic Party in Illinois and the State House in particular clean up their act and Madigan retires, until we have ethics and transparency and honesty, there will be no solution to our state's fiscal crisis. Trust must come first. Madigan must go. I'll say it plain and clear. But the truth is, I'm not that interested in the political part. I'd like to be less interested in the political part. One thing I really want is to spend less of my cognitive and emotional and soul energy on politics. That is perhaps the best thing about Sleepy Joe. Maybe we can get a good night's sleep. Wake up in the morning ready to do the work of building a better world. Don't sleep through the whole thing. But not being on edge all the time sure would be nice. Start to heal from some of the trauma and build something better. But it isn't politics that I want to focus on. No, it's the soul question, the spiritual question that most animates me, that maybe finally we can turn to with more attention. Render to Caesar what is Caesar, and render to God what is God's. I read you the New Revised Standard Translation, but we're most familiar with the King James for that verse. Render to Caesar what is Caesar, and render to God what is God's. By this, Jesus does not mean that people of faith and conscience shouldn't comment on political affairs. He did so regularly. No, I think his two-step to avoid the rhetorical trap set for him tells us something else. We need politics to be about governance, policy, and so forth, and not look there for our sense of identity, belonging, and purpose. I'm not sure how we unring the bell, but I think we need to. We all have many identities, right? Race and class and gender and generation, of course, those are among them, but also faith community, neighborhood, region, and things like our tastes and hobbies. Like, I love science fiction, somebody loves country music, knitter, runner, golfer, so forth. All these various identities. But what has happened is that we have collapsed so many of these identities into one, Republican or Democrat, all-consuming, all-encompassing. And to question the system, to question the ideology, is not just political independence, it's heresy. This is particularly true on the right. It is less true on the left, where questioning things is part of what it means to be a liberal, but it's still true, and you know it is. Certain things can't be asked or questioned. And let me be clear that saying that I don't want everything to be about politics doesn't mean we don't do the work of justice making. In fact, it means quite the opposite. Making a world of justice, equity, and mercy, working for racial, economic, and climate justice, for reproductive freedom and human rights is bigger than politics. It is not subservient to the agenda of any party. It is the work of our values and our commitments. If we decide what justice will work for based on what is electorally advantageous, then we have failed the cause of justice. Disentangling ourselves from these totalizing systems will not be easy. But I think it is what's next. Render to God what is God's. Show me to our nation, my only border is my body. I sing your names, your names, my presidents. I love this poem so much. A colleague of mine shared it on Tuesday, which is when Denez Smith, who a poet I'm really growing to love, published it, and it's so great. The naming of neighbors and beloveds and ancestors and inspirations. Real human beings. And this line, my only border is my body. As I've been on sabbatical, I'm remembering and recovering and reclaiming the mission is faith. I don't belong to a party or to a nation. I belong to the holy, to the spirit, the sacred, known in many ways, to the Lord, the Tao, the unnameable, to Brahman and Gaia and the flow of love. That is to what my loyalty flows. And how I vote, my policy ideas reflect my faith, but they are not my faith. My politics reflect my faith, but they are not in what I have faith. It is idolatry to make a man into a god above other men. We are Unitarians, so we believe that's even true about Jesus. A man, a teacher, but not a god. It is idolatry to make one person a god over other people. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. The face on that coin may well have been Augustus, who is deified by the Roman Senate, the divine Augustus, he was known as, but Jesus says, look at that coin, that's a political ruler, that's not God. That's not God. No more divine and no less than any of the rest of us. That is the revolutionary claim. The most insightful writing about the collective delusion, that is the QAnon conspiracy theory, and it is a collective delusion, has not come from political scientists, but from scholars of religion and experts on cults. This is a question of spiritual loyalty that we confront. It is a sense of belonging that all human beings seek, a sense of meaning and purpose, and strong partisan identity will give you that. It will, but it is idolatry. Nationalism will give you that, but nations are fictions, lines on a map. The only border is your body. And real presidents are everywhere, building a world of love and care, art and beauty, truth and resilience. What I want most now is to turn our attention elsewhere. Or the drama show might continue for a while, but we can start letting go. Turning it down, turning it off. Look elsewhere. Look for presidents among us. Look for the one who plants a seed, who breaks open a wall and starts a conversation, who makes a new community, who begins a new adventure. Look for the one. Be the one. Be the one among millions of ones who are doing that. We must restore and rebuild and reinvent our civic and communal institutions. Online for now, but when we can return in person and see each other face to face, talk soul to soul, we have a huge task to create communities and missions which are transcendent, larger than ourselves, and actually worthy of our devotion. I want politics to be an instrument of collective governance and shared policymaking, not a source of meaning and wonder. Make the news boring again. That's what I say. We do that so that we can feel the real sun, not be blinded by the light. Those words, which Tim and Teresa sang so beautifully a moment ago, I believe in the sun even when it is not shining, are from a short story written by a Jewish author, Zivi Kolitz, in 1946. He describes an argument between God and a fictionalized but very real victim of the Holocaust, in which the questions of God's silence and the absence of love between human beings is very present. In the rubble of a destroyed city, Kolitz reprises the ancient questions of Job, the questions asked in the middle passage and throughout human history, including today, in the face of violence. Where is God in this pain and loss? Should we believe in love, even when we don't feel it or see it? These are real questions, and the answer is not a given. The answer is not cheap or easy. It is faith, deep, deep searching faith itself that says, yes, I believe. It is not a given with facts. It's not something you can prove. It is something you feel and know, and it is a choice you make. I believe. But not in some savior, at least not for our tradition. No savior but us. No hands of God but our hands. No new world save the one we make. One act of kindness at a time. Ubi caritas, where there is love, there is God. Love that does not rejoice in what is wrong, but endures and seeks truth and makes beauty. I do believe. No naive commitment to the universal goodness of humanity. I have learned too much history and seen too much of the world for that. Universal human dignity? Yes, absolutely. As a faith commitment. Goodness? No. But I don't need everyone to agree with me in order to make some good in the world, do you? It takes one to begin. To build a new and better world, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, exhale. Nationalism and racism and demagoguery will not vanish from the scene. It has been with us throughout human history in all times and places. We cannot defeat it forever, but we can make something better, something more worthy and more attractive to belong to. Sets of interlocking institutions and communities and connections that give us a sense of meaning that is worthy of the precious gift of our lives. We cannot make division go away or heal our country with an election or with politics at all, actually. We can live our own lives with integrity, with faithfulness, with love and kindness. We can celebrate a sense of meaning that's not about politics, but about human hearts and human lives. We can try to step back from the edge and make something different, something worthy of our love. Though riven, one humanity. From one world there is no turning, though it has been recklessly rejected. Covenants can build it. Covenants can build it. Hear that line. Covenants can build it. Covenants which create meaning and belonging worthy of our lives, larger than the issue of the moment. This is what can build, sustain, and bless the one world we share together. I don't know how to unring the bell. This is hard. But I think this is the most important work that is before us, as a congregation, as people of faith, and for me as your minister. Let the holy guide our feet as we run this metaphorical race to search our heart and clarify our intentions, to be not a people of politics, but a people of faith. We have done vital work to hold fascist nationalism at bay once again, And that is worthy of celebration and joy and dance parties. Be glad we have held the worst at bay. We have saved lives and given love a chance. The work will continue, and there will be klaxon moments again when we must hold the line against evil. But it is my earnest prayer and my fervent wish that we can now turn to the work of the soul, the acts of kindness and connection that build bridges, the acts of healing and comfort that bind up wounds, the acts of depth and wonder that nurture awe. That is my prayer this morning, in this delicate turning, that we are channels of love, instruments of mercy, and people of hope, that we breathe out and count our blessings as faithfully as a volunteer poll worker counts a ballot, and find and seek and build love, the source of meaning and the life of purpose, offered in grace and wonder to us all. May it be so. Amen. I invite you to sing at home together with us here the traditional song, Guide My Feet.
Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
It has been good to be with you virtually this morning and to be thinking of you, to hold you in my thoughts and my prayers as I see your names on the screen, to wish you luck in all your endeavors. You'll rock it. And be well. Be safe, be well, and I will see you again soon. We'll extinguish our chalice here at the church. I invite you to extinguish your chalice at home, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These things we carry with us until we are together again. In the words of our benediction from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 55. Isaiah, we're going to talk about Isaiah in January when I get back. And Isaiah carries over 3 generations of loss and worry and what has gone wrong, and then rebuilding and coming home and recommitting to a set of values about how we treat orphans and widows and the poor and the immigrant and then celebrating what is right. And these lines come from the coming home, the celebrating, the gladness when our values are aligned. Isaiah writes, "For you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall burst into song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands." We'll sing together our closing blessing.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go your way in peace, wander as we may. Blessed is the path we take, may love guide us on our way.